what's going on, guys? This is Will.
Hey, and I'm Sam, and welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast.
Yeah, real fun one today. We're going to kind of do like a little mini series on how just to be fluid and nimble, because sometimes real estate, just like any business, can, you know, you have to work on your feet, right? Right, Sam?
Things don't always go according to plan. I think we figured out a lot of times that the thing we bought it for might not necessarily be what we can do with it, and sometimes it's through a miscalculation of our own due diligence, or it's the economy changes and the market changes, and that forces you to do other things. So it's always good to go into every real estate transaction with multiple exit strategies and being able to have multiple options, so that way you're not locked in if that one thing just doesn't work out. Don't you agree?
100%, 100%. I think the best thing really about that and what you just said there is always have multiple exit strategies. I think we've touched on that probably every episode. And then just like we've said before, if you're listening or reading books, you'll hear that concept over and over again. And the reason is just like with any business, we're talking about real estate here, but you have to be able to think on your feet, and you have to be able to potentially change the landscape of your business and your operations, because none of us are fortune tellers as much as we want to be, So I'm going to go ahead and get started here by asking Sam just to kind of carry us through a fun story on where he maybe had an idea on what he wanted to do with a specific deal and how it kind of maybe diverged into a different outlet. But the good thing is if you're pre-planning for these types of things, you can still make money on these deals. So, Sam, let's get after it, man. Let's do this episode.
So what story I kind of brought up to Will earlier when we were kind of talking about what direction to go this one, and thinking about being nimble in real estate is just such an important topic, and it's something, like we said, that keeps coming back. But so I was actually thinking back to a house that I bought with the intentions of flipping, but I ended up burying it. Once it was almost time my hard money loan was going to come due. So, I bought the property, ran the numbers, thought everything was good.
What does that mean exactly for some of our listeners that you bird it instead of? Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I know you're moved there, but like some of these people that might be listening, and for those who this might be a little elementary, just hang in with us, because this is going to be touching on a whole bunch of different elements. But like originally you said you wanted to fix and flip, but you ended up burying it. So what do you mean by that?
So I'm glad Will paused me there, because I do want to make sure we explain any acronym that we use on the show. So BRRRR is an acronym, and it's a B with 4 R's, and it stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And
it's being cold. So it's not just if we bought something in Minnesota or something.
What is that?
It's not if we just bought something in Minnesota.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not buying in cold areas. It has nothing to do with the Gucci Mane song. It is all about a real estate strategy, and this strategy is great. There's I think someone who's really made it very well known was like Nate Berger. He's a guy I follow that he's always talking about BRRRR and how he's even taken it from houses to apply it to hotels and bigger projects. But essentially, with any kind of BRRRR project, your intention is that you're gonna buy it. You see opportunities to improve it somehow that are going to be able to add value. For any kind of rental, the way you really add value is you have to do stuff that's going to make people want to pay more in rent, because value is often when it comes to actual commercial side of things, it's all calculated on cash flow returns and stuff. So it's important to be able to find something where you can add value. And so in single families, when you're BRRRRing, you're generally looking for a property that might have good bones, but that needs just some upgrades. And every upgrade, you want it to be something that you can for everything that it costs you, that it's a multiple effect. So a lot of times when you're updating kitchens and bathrooms, for every dollar you spend, you might be adding $3 to maybe even $5 in value. So therefore, like if you do a let's just say a $1,500 bathroom renovation. And I know that's might sound real small to some people. I'm just using that number. So don't get hung up in the amount. But that might, on the appraisal, increase the property by $4,500 because, like I said, now it's going to be seen with all these new modern fixtures and stuff. And so that's just an example of how you can add value. But in my specific story, I bought a property with the intentions of flipping it. But by the time I had the renovations all done, the market kind of got soft and it was taking a lot longer to sell. And my realtor just kind of kept recommending I drop the price. And it got to a point where it's like I was barely going to walk away with $10,000. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I have no interest in, flipping to only make 10 grand. It's too much capital tied up and time and energy goes into it to build it to make a profit that's so small. So in my mind, at that point, I'd rather, keep the capital invested, but then do something that's going to actually increase my net worth on the books. And so that's why I looked into keeping the property and burn it. In the case of mine, if any property that makes a good burr makes a good flip. And so I knew that I had this as an opportunity on the back end. I wasn't planning on it, but when I was about on month 9 of my 12-month hard money loan, I decided it was time to go ahead and start the refinance process. So that way I wouldn't, wind up with my loan due at the end of the 12 months. And so I ended up refinancing it. I got all my money back out. So I bought the property for 180. I put 80,000 into it. So I was all in for 260. The appraisal came back at 345 and I was able to rent it out for $26.75 a month. So a little bit over the 1% rule, which
so better than the rule there.
Yeah, and then let's go ahead and break down the 1% rule. I'll let you explain what's the 1% rule to people who may not know.
No, go ahead, Sam. I mean, 1% rule really is you're going to want to rent it for 1% of what you have in it, right? But,
so 1% means that whatever you are all into the property for, you rent it out for 1% of that a month. So in this case, I was all in for 260. So 1% would be $2,600 a month. And like I told you, I was doing it for $2,675. So it was just over the 1% rule starting out. So this was a great one to add to my portfolio.
And break it down for why the 1% rule is so critical as you're collecting rent, what you have into it, and then for like your return on investment, how quickly you can pay off what you owed on it. Like the numbers are pretty astounding, guys. If you guys are looking into compound interest, following what's happening on the S&P or anything that's happening, on Wall Street, something that's really interesting about the 1%, because when we think about 1%, we're thinking that's like very small. But when you compound that 1% rule, you can actually pay off this property way faster than you might think. So Sam, just tell everybody kind of like the significance and why the 1% rule has, come to become a big component for those people that are trying to really, really increase their rental portfolios.
Right. So oftentimes, we compare, we got to compare investments somehow, and so the best way to compare them is your ROI based on, percentage wise. This isn't a stock show. We're all about real estate here. So please no one crucify me if I'm a little wrong on this, but I believe that the current average rate of return for the S&P 500 over 5 years, over a 10-year period is 8% annually. And not saying that you can't have a big year, like you can have it, but this is, like I said, over a decade, it averages to about 8% annually, I think, after inflation. And so if you can get a 12% annually on your initial investment, that's good. But let me kind of explain a little further. So I actually am getting a much greater return than 12% because I'm only invested in the property about 30% of the value. So to make numbers real simple, I'm going to take a $100,000 property. And let's just say this $100,000 property is a 1% rule property. So it makes $1,000 a month. Now, if I was going to just go buy that, I could go buy that with we'll just say you know, 10, 20, maybe 30% down. Let's just say 30% down. So it's like worst case scenario. So 30% down, I'm gonna put $30,000 down. But if it's earning $1,000 a month, well, then I'm actually getting a greater, because that 1% a month or 12% annually is on the full 100,000. But instead, I'm getting that 12,000 annually on a $30,000 investment. You know, because that's all I'll be down on it. So I'm pulling out. You just got to see me looking on screen. I'm pulling my calculator up to kind of help me real quick. But you know, if I do you know, say $12,000 a year divided by 30,000, that's a 40% annual return on that initial investment. So if you think about it, and you know, we can just do this simple math, just since I picked $1,000 a month property, you know, it would take you 30 months to get your full investment back. So wouldn't that mean that every 60 months you're doubling?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Exactly. And so something that I love, we actually, Sam and I went to just a quick little education seminar, and they kind of had a question. It's like, if you're using other people's money, which a lot of times you're able to use the bank's money, even if you're not trying to do anything like extremely out of the ordinary or creative financing. But you know, something very typical is an 80-20 LTV, which is loan to value, right? So you put down 20%. So let's just do it easy. We put down 20,000, but the bank's going to give us what, 80,000. So now $100,000 property. But if you're using that and you're able to leverage that extra $80,000 on that $20,000 investment, Sam, go ahead and tell them what is your return really?
yeah. So I'm glad you asked me, because I
Yeah,
was actually the
this is
person who
my
gave the answer in the
favorite.
class. It's infinite return.
Infinite.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Say that again. Say that again. I might have cut out for a second, but the return is
it,
what?
it's an infinite return.
Exactly. So it's an
So
infinite return. Like if you're never really having to put up that $80,000, yes, you owe the note. I don't want
mhm.
anyone to get, confused on that. But if you took the $20,000, did the 1,000, using that same former example that we were just doing, $1,000 a month, every 20 months, you're making that money back, right? So over 80 months, you can pay that down theoretically, right?
Well, not
But
and the same thing applies even if you're not using other people's money. That if you're
really,
just investing in yourself, your own properties, and after a couple of years you're able to do a refinance and get your money back out that you put into it, then if you're still cash flowing positive, that's an infinite return for you, because you got your principal back.
get
You
your
can
money
now go,
back.
yeah, you can go apply that principal to another investment, or go have fun. You know, your choice. You know, me, I'm invest for more, because it's all about later in life for me.
Yeah,
But you know, but yeah, like I said, that's the beauty of real estate, and really investing in general. And that's really, I mean, I'm actually even go so far to say that's the goal of any investment, is to get your original investment back out, so that way you can stay in it for the rest of your life and really not lose anything. Because if you
totally.
got back everything that you put into it, and let's just say it does go wrong and belly up, and you know, loses from there, did you really lose? Because you know, you still got everything you started with.
Right, right, exactly. And I think you brought up a great point there of delayed gratification, right? Like taking that, having what you initially invested, allowing that return to keep compounding on itself, but having that nest egg of what you originally invested, which allows you then to invest in other things.
Right.
Which again, the start of this episode was really about that. You're doing a fix and flip, right? But then
Uh-huh.
then you did a burr, and then I don't know if it really sunk in to everyone, but you got your money back when you refinanced it, right?
Oh, great. No, so
Exactly.
I got my principal back, and
And then 2650 a month, right?
yeah, and the other positive I don't think I really said much about was that you know, after my, you know, mortgage, taxes, and insurance, I'm $800 positive. So even if I set aside another let's just say $300 a month for potentially things going wrong. Keep in mind, I replaced the air conditioner, the water heater, roof, everything when I flipped the house. So everything's brand new. It's essentially a brand new home again. So I really shouldn't have anything go wrong. But even if, like I said, I got to set aside $300 a month just to have a slush fund for things going bad, I still got $500 a month positive going in my pocket every month. So this is just extra money that I can save up for my next rental investment, or I could use that for my weekend fun. But like I said, it's that's $500 in additional income that I now get every month off of owning this property. Well, I own the asset that's appreciating. Well, I get, tax benefits from being able to take the depreciation on it. And so it's just, like I said, it's definitely a real estate is definitely just a gift that keeps on giving. There's just so many ways you can benefit from it.
Yeah. And then also something like, again, this is more about real estate and things like that, but there's a huge barrier of entry if you go to Wall Street, right? Like you're not allowed to take $20,000, but then get $100,000 of options, right? Like that $20,000 is going to compound only on that 20,000. But then now Sam's giving an example where it was 260 all in, and then the beauty of it is that I think you said that appraisal came back at 340 or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I think it was 340, I believe. So, again, I'm all in for. Let's say I said, 2675. So that's an extra $80,000 added to my net worth.
Right. I mean, come on.
My net worth.
How long it took you to do that?
So actually the renovations job itself thing only took about 4 months. It was a little bit longer. I turned a existing porch into a master bedroom, and added a bathroom. So we did a lot with it.
Why would you do that, Sam? Just for curiosity.
Yeah. So it was more of like there wasn't a lot of affordable homes with a lot of extra bedrooms in that area, like that could cater to a bigger family. And then also at the same time, I was keeping the kind of in the back of my mind that if I did have to keep it, I could then even take a rent by the room approach, and so I had more bedrooms that I could rent. Or I could rent out the overall house, which is what I ultimately ended up doing. I found a great guy who he was looking for a house in Florida to help house some of his people that are on his construction team, and so he ended up renting the whole house for me because everything was, like I said, laid out real nice with the bedrooms and bathrooms, so it's really perfect. But so that was, like I said, benefit. But one of the things that when you were talking, it made me think of Grant Cardone whenever he always says that you have to always make sure you have multiple exit plans. So like I said, just that's the thing, is have multiple exit plans so that way you can never lose in a deal.
So if in this specific example, yes, you were doing a fix and flip, turned it into a BRRRR. Did you happen to have any other exit strategies? Going back to kind of what Grant Cardone's saying and kind of what we're talking about today.
So basically, if I didn't get my one big renter quick, I was going to do a rent by the room deal, which I actually think I would have made more money renting by the room, but it would have been a lot
by the room. Or leasing room, we talked about that on a couple first episodes, and that's actually how I got involved. So big fan of that strategy. Right. If you want to go into that.
Yeah, I just the reason I wanted to go with the regular rental first, just because I knew that would be a lot of work. Instead of having one lease, I would have had 4 or 5 leases because it was a 5-bedroom house. So if I rented out all 5 bedrooms, I would have had 5 leases to deal with. So then I would have 5 separate tenants to deal with. People coming in and out at different times, as far as this guy's might only want, he might be leaving now. Other guy might be staying for 2 years, and then I just thought about, man, if I rent out 5 separate people, now these 5 people have to get along or else there's drama. And so, unlike in your story, I think you were like with you actually living there and you have being friends with everyone, I think you were kind of the glue that hold a lot of your stuff, a lot of those ones, together in your early days,
It was a little fun too. I mean,
you're right.
got all my buddies and stuff like that. But it's a cool strategy to have, right? So right now we've talked about three. So originally fix and flip, then Burr, and then rent by the room. Were there a couple other strategies you had just as like an absolute backup, or were those kind of the way? Because right now, guys, remember we're already talking about three different ways that Sam can get out of the deal if he needed to. You know,
Yeah. So I mean that's probably I think the extent of the great exits I had. I think anything than that would have been a bailout, like like a just like try not to lose on it kind of deal. But each of those three were actually great strategies that were profitable. Again, it's just like some things you just can't predict is the time of the market. Some people might be wondering like, well, what happened? Well, this was towards the end of 2022. Rates were creeping up, on people, and so it just kind of all of a sudden everyone kind of got to the sidelines on buying. So it was, and I bought it kind of right at the end of like everybody's buying everything, so there's multiple offers and stuff. So I got it, like I said, for the 180 at a time that was real competitive for me to even get that deal. I was lucky to get it, but then when it came, by the time it was ready to sell, there was a whole lot of things that happened, that like I said, that made it difficult. That were more in the economy and the real estate environment than anything that was under my personal control.
Yeah. No, totally. Well, man, that was pretty good. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We just want to give you guys a big shout out to our sponsor today, which is Clean Eats. Clean Eats. Thank you so much for always supporting this channel and our podcast. Again, I'm going to be cooking up a nice pizza. It's going to be a wheat thin crust pepperoni and a whopping 436 calories. Thanks again I'm gonna have that for lunch in about an hour, so I'm pretty stoked. Thanks to Clean Eats. Sam, thanks so much. I always enjoy this. Where can we find you at again?
Yeah, so you can find me on my personal Instagram at Sam_FloridaMan. So just shoot me a DM if you ever want to talk about real estate or want me to look at a deal you're looking at, or if you're interested in partnering on anything.
Totally.
So Will and I are always looking for people to go into deals with us or bring us deals we can go into with you guys. So especially if anything in the northern Florida and South Alabama areas, we're definitely interested in Northwest Florida and South Alabama. So, and Will, how can people find you?
Yeah. You guys can find myself on Instagram at Elite REIFL Will McClelland. So that's just Elite REIFL Will McClelland, my name. Really excited as well. We're going to be coming out with a newsletter, so definitely make sure you're checking that out. We'll post some links below when that's live, up and ready. It's going to be a really great landing page just to connect with you guys. We'll send out a lot of really great content, but as well, it's a great place. Like if you have a deal and you want to shoot it to us directly to for us to partner on, or for us to do some type of joint venture, or if you just want to connect with a whole bunch of other people, like-minded people. That's the point of this podcast, and what we're trying to do is we've had some really great mentors, paid for a lot of education, and so if we can kind of give back by not really having to charge anything, but can find a way that it makes sense for everyone, where we're able to kind of give back and then do it better for the greater collective. That's what we're trying to do. Been having a really good time doing this with Sam, great business partner. Couldn't really ask for more in a business partner. So we're really excited about that. So if you want to kind of support that and then just hop on that, We'll have some links below. But great episode, and stick with us for the next one.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, 25-27. 25-27 and over. Do you just want us to, Lance, do you just want us to restart intros? Yep. All right. We'll get it started right here, maybe in 15 seconds at 26 at the top.
Oh, this is now we're going on episode 4, right?
I think, but we can kind of splice them up. So and just say, welcome to our newest episode. We'll start in 4 seconds. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Will.
And I'm Sam, and welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast, episode 4.
Yeah, super excited to have you guys. Thanks for sticking in. Really fun time in these last few episodes with Sam, just kind of bouncing back and forth, wanting you guys to, get to know us, best ways to connect with us, talk about deals, look at different things, but also kind of get a new scope of, the real estate landscape and pretty much, how you have to be aware, multiple exit strategies, and, think creatively. You'll hear that a lot, no matter where you're getting your real estate content. But yeah, super excited for this episode coming up because this one is fun, kind of.
Yeah. So earlier this year, or actually, I'm sorry, end of last year, Will and I had looked at this plot of land. Actually, we bought it. It was 2.1 acres in Pensacola, Florida. And we had the plan. When we bought it, we were told by the county that we could easily build 4 on it. 4 houses.
This is prior to purchasing. So we went to the county with the survey, with parcel IDs, everything. Of course, we had a whole packet of everything that we brought up there, and we're just like, hey, this is our idea. This is essentially a site layout. It was pretty elementary in that, like we didn't have everything done because we didn't purchase it yet by an engineer. We just had the survey, and they pretty much said, oh, you guys are golden, no problem. Took all the land codes, but there's always a but, right? So we're gonna kind of get into that today, what the but was, because no matter what level of due diligence, this kind of goes into that series where you have to be creative, nimble, fluid in your business, based off of external factors. So yeah, so keep going, Sam. This one is fun.
Well, actually, so the funny thing is, this was the going to be kind of like one of my first development deals, with Will. So I was, real excited about this. Like I said, we did the upfront due diligence when they told us that with the county. We took the county's word for it. Maybe something that you shouldn't always do for sure, but we took their word for it and thought it was going to be good to go. And then, afterwards came back and, things weren't really like that. And I'll let Will kind of take it from here because like, he's really, out of the two of us, he's the new construction guy. So he was the person that was there with the county saying like, well, if you're telling me I can't do this now, what can we do? And he really actually is the one who kind of figured out, how we could still make this a viable project in 2 ways. So the one way though is kind of how we could turn it into a rental compound. Oh, yeah. But I'm gonna let Will elaborate on that one, and then we can kind of tell you the other way. That's actually, but both are kind of being run simultaneously right now. We do kind of think we're going to lean over more to the other option than the rental compound, but if that option does not come fully through, we are moving forward. So, Will, what did you discover when they told us we couldn't do the 4 lots, the 4 single family homes?
Yeah, so it was gonna be really cool design. Mostly like pretty much pie shaped. It was tucked away in this community that was very private, but yet extremely convenient to a lot of things. 1.8 miles away from a Publix, 2.1 miles away from a Walmart. There's a large Fortune 500 company that has a headquarters here, and it was only 4.2 miles away from that. So proximity wise, fantastic lot We thought it would be great. We could do like an elevated style living, mini subdivision. And yeah, the county seemed to be all on board. And then when everything came, down to it, where we're submitting, they pretty much said, well, this particular lot, we can't do what we said. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, this was owned and split, and it used to all just be a large farmland. And when the former owners, a couple owners prior, um, they owned a massive, like 40 acres of this specific area, and they split them all off into what's called a family conveyance. That means you can go outside of the boundaries of the normal limitations of the land, if it is a permanent resident of someone who is your family. So like, I'll just give you an example. If normally you have to split, a lot into a minimum of 2 acres, with family conveyance, you might be able to put multiple homes on every half acre, right? So it could give you up to 4 more sections than what's generally allowed. The only thing is that it has to be a permanent residency of someone that's in your family, and they have to homestead it. So it's kind of a really interesting caveat to the rules. But with that being said, you can only split it 2 times. And for us, well, we were already trying to do a minimum of 4. So obviously that would be splitting it, twice as many times. And they had already split it already, right? So then what happened is we were trying to figure out how we could kind of go around it through a vote, if there was some type of veto or something that could go, and there was. But what we would have to do is we had to get the FDOT, which is the Florida Department of Transportation. We would have to then own an easement, which is a connector to multiple plots of land, and we would have to widen the road. It is 33 feet, and the Florida Department of Transportation requires 35 feet. So we were 2 feet shy, of course, and we were going to have to create a privately maintained road that also had a fire truck turnaround, so that they could come in and out, and also multiple sets of fire hydrants, which would mean we would have to do underground plumbing all out of our pocket. Nothing was going to be coming from the county, so that if in case of a fire, of course, which is fine, we understood that dynamic, a fire truck could come, would be close to a fire hydrant, and everything would be good. That was more than what we actually paid for the lot. So we were like, okay, maybe not. So working with the county, I have to say they were fantastic. They gave us a number of different options, which could work into a similar situation where we could get multiple units on the plot of land. And we kind of have everything configured out in a really nice layout for that plan. It just took, I would say, maybe 6 to 10 trips to the county, lots of time on the phone. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with anything at the state or federal level, but like talking with the FDOT is not necessarily the quickest process. And then having to relay that information as well as emails and things back down to the county, you can see that there's quite a number of things. So yeah, that's like a 2 to 3 minute synopsis of something that took like 6 weeks. So we got this property back in the 1st of December. It's now coming into the mid to late March, and so we've had it for a little bit. We were planning on just doing a nice estate style home, because they're doing very well in this particular area. Again, like I had mentioned, there's a large Fortune 500 company where the C-suite and executives are all moving down here. So we have that as another option, and we've actually kind of created a team in this process. So definitely not complaining, where we've used a third-party general contractor, and we have actually kind of built out a new subset of the business. Sam, if you kind of want to talk about that with them specifically, they're great people. And we kind of turn more into their land guys, and they're going to do, on-site operations, which works really well for us because Sam and I both have full-time careers as well. And so we can do a lot of this research and everything, phone calls directly to the county, anywhere. So yeah, so that's kind of what Sam was teeing up and touching on. But if you want to go more into that, and then we can kind of talk about, where that landscape is to have, again, these multiple exit strategies, how we're going to have to be nimble, fast on our feet to make decisions and things like that. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I'll go into a little bit. Then I'll get Will back on to kind of explain the rental compound that he figured out that we could
oh,
do.
it's so
But
cool.
yeah,
And
but
if you guys are more curious, we can do a one-on-one, because it's like we worked with the county so long, to figure out a way to make it work. And if we could duplicate this process, this is, again, a big pitch on what allowed us to kind of, build our team, because we spent a good amount of money to make this specific example work. But now that it's there and approved by the county, like it kind of opens the floodgates for everyone that listens to this. So
right. So yeah, so the thing that we were kind of looking to do, originally and still do, is that we look for buildable lots that we can buy affordably, and then we like to get them cleared and prepped and ready for the builder to come in and do what they do, and then we like to find a builder to partner with. Where the builder then uses, because we'll, if we buy a lot, we own it free and clear, so there's no debt on it. So that way they can use the lot as collateral for them to go to their own lender and get a loan to build it. So then they'll build the whole thing out of their pocket using their own financing. And then in the end, we go to sell the property, and we get our land money back, they get their construction costs back, and then we do a 50-50 split on the profit. And this is a beautiful deal. And this is kind of like, we found a few builders that really like to do that really would love to do this, because guys, as all you guys in real estate know, sourcing the deal is the hardest part. Like finding the deal. If great deals were plentiful, we would all be extremely wealthy. But that's why it's a game, and that's why it's a challenge. That's what keeps a lot of people out, is because you do got to go through a little, the rough parts, before things start to get easier for you. But the more connections you build, the more, the more you have deals flowing to you. So over time, sourcing deals does become easier, but that's usually the hardest part. And all these builders know that. Companies like big companies like D.R. Horton, where Will used to work, they have people whose their whole job in the company is just to go find land and buy land. So that way
land management is one of the most critical jobs, in that business life cycle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because if they run out of land, then they got to stop building, and
they don't want to do that. That's how they're making money.
Right. So, and that all construction companies, obviously a lot of them are much smaller than D.R. Horton, but all of them, have that, as a potential problem, that if they run out of buildable lots that they have access to, then what are they going to build on? And so that's where, Will and I kind of, talked and figured out this might be a niche in the market that we'd like to get into. Because we could do some build to sales to build up initial capital, but then the long-term plan, we'd love to do some build to rent. And we even found builders that want to partner up with us on that, where they want to do long-term holds as well. And so that's, like I said, that's just a great opportunity out there. And it's what we were going for. But and actually we're still talking to that builder about taking that whole parcel and building a really nice estate style home on the whole parcel. This would be a real luxury home, get for a higher ticket, and we would get a little higher on land price. But if that doesn't work, we looked into doing this other, kind of a rental compound. And it really, I got to give full credit to Will on it, because if he didn't take the time going to the county and really nitpicking him with a bunch of questions on like, well, how far does it have to be from this line, or and basically really understanding all the building laws of our county. And I do want to highlight that, of our county,
Right.
different. Every county is different. So make sure, so something we're telling you right now, this applies to Escambia County where we're talking about, but it might not apply to your county and your home and your state. So just keep that in mind when looking at these deals. But Will, what did you figure out of, they said we couldn't build all these different, separate homes, but what did you figure out we could do with the property?
Yeah. So like Sam was saying, this depends upon your specific county, city, municipality, etc. But we just kept talking to a whole bunch of different pieces of the puzzle. But once we actually locked that land up and started having these talks, we were actually working with half a dozen different contractors that we were trying to help fill that niche of like, this is we told you the proximity of the lot is fantastic. And so we actually kind of were in like a bid situation, which then gave us like really good relationships with a number of people. And, we're still utilizing those, catching lunch with those guys, things like that. But then as we became more creative, I've kept in touch with all of these people just to let them know like, hey, we got this approved and we got this approved and this is good. And they're like, wow, you guys are really kind of thinking outside of the box. So kind of giving the quick synopsis is we couldn't build multiple units per se, but directly in the codes, by development, you can build a main structure and then can build additional structures up to 50% of the size of your initial permit pulled. So we're like, I was like, okay, I think we can kind of work something on that. So we got a little creative and we created a dog trot style home. It was really fun.
Now, hey, I'm going to pause you real quick, Will, because when you at first told me we were building a dog trot style home, I was like, what's a dog trot? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So just for simple sake, it's kind of like a duplex, but instead of having just a wall that that splits the two units, connects it, there's a breezeway. So it's really two separate structures under one big roof. Is that a good way to kind of explain that, Will?
Yeah, and that is a good way. There's also, you can kind of manipulate the floor plan. However, so these are really popular in the Carolinas and coastal areas where you might have an open living space on one half of the home, and then you might have actual like sleeping quarters on another, or a separated kitchen off the back. You'll kind of see this style. So what we did is we took a blend of a very attractive aesthetic that is popular in this area, and we kind of split it into a multi-unit under one. So you could have, we had like a 3-bedroom, 3-bath on one side, and we had a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath on the other. So ended up, it would be just a huge premium estate for someone, where you could kind of have this really, really awesome breezeway that connects both halves of your home, or you could live in one half and rent the other just to kind of house hack. But the thing is it was a little north of 4,000 square feet. So even if we were going to be doing an additional unit, we would have, 2,000 square feet according to that code, right? And then from there, the additional structures can be built behind the home, and the setbacks are as close as 5 feet from the lot line. So that's like very close, as opposed to setbacks being 60 to 60 plus feet for the main structure. So now you culminate all of these types of things, you create different types of layouts, and you're like, oh man, we can fit multiple structures. And the only thing is we couldn't use more than 80% of the total land. Well, what we didn't tell you, what's unique about this property, is we have just over a 1/4 acre of a long, beautiful driveway that connects the main street to the actual open plot. And so we were never going to use that percentage of the lot anyway, but it adds into that 80%. So what's really cool is we could actually build out multiple structures and create it more of like a rental apartment compound. So Sam and I have been having a ton of fun, like playing pickleball and doing things outside, working out. So we had a whole like gym, pool, pickleball layout, multiple structures utilizing this dog trot style home. Then also, cutting those dog trot style homes in half, where you would still have about 2,000, 1,000 each side. So they'd be like one bedroom studio kind of efficiency places. And then each one had an independent garage. And then you could build those structures where you could have a living space on top of a garage for a studio. So we ended up getting like almost 10 units on this that we could eventually get to. where, you'd have this really elegant yet cool and convenient rental compound that feels secluded, and it wouldn't be like you're just renting an apartment, but it would have all the amenities of an apartment, and you're in a walking or golf carting distance from a Publix and a Walmart. I mean, so obviously we had to work through those to get to that point. But what was really cool is we got to that point, so that's like an ultimate backup in being nimble and creative. And then the other thing is, like Sam had touched on, one of the contractors that we're working with is actually working with a client that loves our lot so much they want to put a 7,000 square foot estate on it. So obviously they're coming, they're moving down here. They're coming from up north, and they really loved the convenience, yet it's like a really peaceful wooded lot. And yeah, long story short, they just gave us this update that they're like, hey, this client wants to do a full turnkey build with us, including in the purchase of the lot. And we're creating a full site layout for a 7,000 square foot home. And I was like, oh my gosh. So with that being said, we've kind of worked a deal with them where we would get a great return for what we purchased the lot for. And we would actually be, we have two options, like Sam was saying, is they can get all the way through and then create, like a split at the end of the build based off of, how much money they'll be putting into the budget, or they can pay us out directly and then they can, build that really fancy custom home over the next 12 to 18 months on their own. And then we're rolling into a new deal, helping sourcing them deals as well as a few others. So a lot of fun things happening with this property. We've kind of got our fingers in a lot of different pies, but being able to have that consistency of knowing that there's options makes me feel really comfortable with the deal. Plus we got in, like, the entry point, was really good for us. So that's why it was like, yeah, we didn't get the four lots and made like a premium, like, mini neighborhood that we were anticipating, but our carryover cost is relatively low. It's paid off, but like the money that we invested for the premium lot is low. And so because of that, we've been able to like entertain these multiple like options.
Right. And I was going to even add that, probably out of all the scenarios, our smallest return will probably be if we just sold the lot for them to build that house. But even that return, though, is probably still going to be, and Will can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be about a 50% return on investment.
Right. It will at a minimum. Done based off the size of the home that they're going to be building. But then when they told me they're going to be building a 7,000 square foot home, like, the money that we're getting back, which we just purchased in December, 4 months ago, 50% return in, let's say, 6 months, not a bad one.
Well, and if you listen to our last episode, I think I told you that the average return in the stock market, if you invest in the S&P 500 index fund, is about an 8% annual return over a 10-year period. Mm-hmm. So I use that in the back of my mind, that any real estate deal I do, if I'm getting a double-digit return, especially if I'm doing that in under 12 months, I'm a good investor. That's the definition to me of being good. And
yeah, totally. Unless I'm like, you guys started investing in 1928, so I actually have the Investopedia up here, which is like saying, what is the S&P 500 if you just were to invest there? And S&P 500 is a market capitalization weighted index of the 500 leading publicly traded companies in the U.S. The index is operated by Standard & Poor's Dow Jones, which is a division of S&P Global. Now, what's interesting is the average annualized return since its inception in 1928 through December 31 of 2023 is 9.9%. If you've been in it that long, right?
And is that correcting for inflation?
It's not. No. This is just
so
it's probably significantly smaller.
That's where it goes down to the 8, I believe.
Yeah. So I just wanted to I pulled that up while we were on that on this podcast, just because Investopedia is a great reliable source. This was written January 3rd, 2024. But I just thought that was interesting. It's like I don't know very many people. This is inception of 1928, so we're 96 years that you'd have to be in it to get that type of return, right? And we're talking about getting a 50% return in 4 to 6 months.
Right. No, that's again, that's the beauty of real estate. Now we'll say when we do sell it that quick, we would be subject to short-term capital gains.
Very true.
So
Great
that's
point.
something to keep in mind. You can avoid that if you hold an asset for over 2 years. Don't take anything I say though as investing or accounting advice. Always talk to someone who is certified to give you that kind of information. Everything that we say on this is strictly for informational purposes, and everything should be verified.
Your CPA, your certified financial advisors, things like that. We are neither. So, but us reading and giving knowledge of things that we've kind of experienced, and that's again trying to cultivate this community. And the more things that you guys can share and stories you guys can share and we can share, I think it's been a benefit for the greater good of just like giving out information and knowledge. So it's cool.
Definitely. So that's, I think, kind of the gist of our multiple plans, with that property and being nimble. I think we had another great episode, and really looking forward to continuing this. And I think we kind of on the next episode, I think we talked to him about that brewery that we're looking at. Maybe let them know what kind of alternatives we've thought of to a brewery. So anyway, but Will, you go ahead and close us out. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, this has been a really fun one. And as you guys can see, like no matter the amount of due diligence we did, like even getting county approval, then when you dig down deeper, you find out like this family conveyance and things like that. So you have to, have another option, another way to kind of, be fast on your feet and get creative. I mean, that's something you'll hear a lot. But find me at Elite, REIFL Will McClelland. So just like this, Elite Real Estate Podcast. So it's Elite, REIFL Will McClelland. We're going to be coming out with a newsletter and a website, which is just going to be a great place that everyone kind of get together. You can share deals with us. We can source deals. We can have a place listed and help you guys if you want to joint venture on something, partner on something. We're always interested, and we're also just interested in helping you guys if you have questions or anything. But yeah, what about you, Sam? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so if you guys want to get in touch with me, find me on Instagram at Sam_FloridaMan. Super easy to remember. I love the state of Florida where I'm from. So Sam_FloridaMan. And like Will said, shoot us a DM with kind of any deals you're looking at that you might just want a second opinion on. We don't steal deals. So if you're looking at your own deal, we're not going to take it from you. We don't get down like that. We think integrity is an important part of being successful in business in the long term, and so that's something that, like I said, we won't be stealing anyone's deal if you just want us to look at it. But if you're also looking for people to partner, with you, sometimes we can bring money to the table. Sometimes we can bring other investors to the table. So we as we build our connections, we want to use that to help as many people as possible. So if you have any great deals you're looking at, you want a second opinion, or you're looking for a partner, please message us. But hey, we appreciate you guys into this, and can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Yeah, thanks again to Clean Eats for sponsoring this episode. I'm about to pop this pizza in the oven. You guys need to check them out. They're all across the Panhandle, from Southern Alabama into Northwest Florida. So again, thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.